Welcome to the Connected Growth Coaching Podcast, where we support women to rediscover who they are so they can thrive in all parts of their lives. Your hosts, Jen Heilman and Amanda Kingsley, share with you unique life coaching resources centered around the power of the mind and the ancient practice of feng shui.
Ready?
Let's podcast it.
All right, let's do it. Welcome, friends.
So we weren't really sure how to title this. What defines happiness? What is happiness? Let's define happiness. And please enter in your definitions.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely. Let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah, it's a big thing, right? Like, and is happiness the goal? That's another piece of it.
Right.
It's like, we also just ate garlicky bagels. I feel like I'm breathing onion breath all over Jen. Maybe should have said that off podcast, but
probably at least the seeds. I cleaned out the seeds in my teeth.
So is happiness the goal? Like, that's a big question.
Right.
And
well, it depends on what you define happiness as.
yes.
Right.
So it kind of goes, which comes first.
Right.
Right. So what do you define happiness as?
God. Wow, just hit me over the head with that one.
Clunk.
What do I define happiness? Happiness for me is a place. It's a. Well, I want to say it's like an arriving point where I feel. I don't know. Joy isn't really the word that I'm looking for, but it's a like a contentment, and a place of gratitude.
Yeah, big
right?
One. Big.
Yeah, and just like seeing the world in a different way, right? And just like being present in the moment and being grateful for my life and but having like it's obviously a positive feeling, right? So like just being, because not that gratitude is a negative feeling or a positive feeling, but it can almost like bubble up these emotions of I don't know, not sadness, but like just like it's almost like when you cry when you're happy, I guess is the best way to put it, like it has like such crazy emotions that come through. So anyways, I don't know.
I like that word content. Happiness to me is very much a place of content. It's like a presence for me, very present. And it doesn't always mean that like for me, I can be happy solving a problem that may not necessarily be a happy problem, right? Like, or like a positive thing, right? Like I can be happy, like figuring out, one of our clients used the word project, life project. Like it actually had to do with a health thing in her family. And so like, it's not a positive thing, but you can find happiness even in that.
Right. Through
so
it.
There's this interesting, like, for me, happiness isn't like always joyful and like, it's like feeling like, enough, right? Like I have what I need, which comes back to the gratitude piece. I like how we're like getting on this podcast and we're like, we don't really know.
What
do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's kind of how we roll. It's just like, what is it? What is this?
Because that's the thing is like, if we don't know what happiness is, then how do we achieve it? And everybody's always talking about like, achieving happiness, and what the hell is it, right? So we need to define it for ourselves so that we know when we're there and we can recognize that we have reached that place of happiness. Yeah.
I think like for me, Abraham Hicks comes up. I've definitely, if you've listened to the podcast or watched us before, I've brought her up, but she's all about like following the path of satisfaction, right? Like if you're following the path of satisfaction, even through something that's not really satisfying, like a frustration with your kid's school or a cancer or like something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're following the path of satisfaction, you're like in the flow of where you're supposed to be, right? Like, no, I don't want to be making this decision about calculating in my kid's IEP or whatever. Like, I'd rather he didn't need an IEP, but like,
right.
I feel like I'm following the path of satisfaction through it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
right. Mm-hmm.
I'm showing up for the meeting. I did the research, or like, I'm here to listen. I'm open. I'm curious.
Right.
It's like,
yeah, there's a level of satisfaction for following through for the best interests of your child, right?
Yeah. And that's like the happiness to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, maybe like we use the word happiness because it's more culturally used, but like, or like more people can identify it with it, but satisfaction is like really what it is, right? It's like if you're following that trail to happiness, like even just knowing I'm not happy right now.
Right. Mm-hmm. How can I flip the switch?
Do I want to be happy? Like,
right.
do I want to just be sad for a little while? Or do I want to be happy? And then B, like, what's my next step? How am I going to get there? How am I going to follow the trail to get back to happy?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think like it also brought up a conversation around success. Like, what is success? Happiness? Are they interchangeable?
Right.
Like,
is it even possible, if your definition of success is, completely out of reach, right? Like, will you ever get there? And if you reach a certain level of success, does it include happiness, there's just so many avenues, right, that you can take with both words and our definitions. And I think a lot of people, especially in our circle, don't necessarily ever see success, because once they reach that level of success that they were, striving for, they arrive and they're like, oh, this is not what I was expecting, right?
I think like traditionally we see success more as like a milestone.
Yeah.
And happiness is how you get there, right? Like, and that's the magic is in the journey, not in the destination, right? Like the training and the running and the overcoming fears and like all that stuff that's the good stuff. Right. It's not necessarily crossing the finish line. So like you get to success, whatever your definition of that is, like happy, healthy family, thriving business, opening community center, like whatever it is for you, through happiness. And if you're getting there any other way than through happiness, you're missing the whole point. Like you're missing the entire value of the journey.
Right. And that's why when you arrive, you're like, I thought this would be different.
Yeah. Because you think you're going to be happy when you get there. Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
So happiness is the way to get to success, whatever your definition of that is. And then when you get there, it's not like you just bust through the finish line. It's like it moves. Right. Like you keep moving it. It keeps like, and it's not this process of like, I crossed the finish line and then I just fell down and like everything
fell into place.
It was over. Right. And then what? Right. It's more like when your definition of success like keeps moving as you grow through the happiness.
Well,
right? Like,
I think humans are happiest when they're progressing.
Growing.
Right. Yeah. And so like that's the whole thing, is that we're constantly in this state of growth and progress. And so we never do actually reach this ultimate success, right? We reach certain levels of success and then we keep growing beyond that. And so, success and happiness are just so intertwined in our culture, and I don't know that they should be.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I think it's what we do best, right? And it's like all the time I run into people, they're like, you and Jen are so fun to watch. Like, you're so happy. Like, we really, truly are happy. Like, have we reached the level of success we want to? Heck no. Like, do we even have any idea what the hell we're doing? Not really.
we know what we're doing, but we haven't, we don't know what that success
we're figuring it out.
Yeah, we're figuring it out. Yeah,
but
exactly.
We know how to be happy.
Right.
Like we know how to overcome the hurdles.
Right.
And be happy and be present and be content and be satisfied, even when it doesn't go our way.
Yeah.
And that's what we teach. Is like that's what we want every client to walk away from, or even people who listen, everyone who listens to the podcast or reads the newsletters or whatever, is like this concept that like you don't have to make any massive changes to reach happiness. Like it's just these subtle perspective shifts. Like we don't have the massive success, the massive destination, like the massive numbers, like all the stuff that we hope to make an impact with someday. But like we freaking know how to be happy. Like we do. We use our tools. We know how to shift our perspective. We know how to arrange our space. So it's all about experience. Like it's just all about like, how are you experiencing this life? Because the truth is, I don't know if I've talked about this on a podcast before.
Ooh, but I'm excited.
Have we talked about this concept that like life is 50-50, right? I don't know if we've talked about this on a podcast.
Not on a podcast, yeah.
We talk about it with our clients a lot, right?
Yep.
So life is 50-50. You're going to be 50%, we'll just use the word happy. This is much deeper than I'm going to be able to present in 2 minutes here. But like life is going to be 50% positive, 50% negative. So if we go with 50% happy, 50% unhappy, like that's how it's always going to be. That's going to be when you make $1,000 a month. And that's what it's going to be when you make $100,000 a month. Like there's going to be this balance. And that's where it's like, how do you find the happiness no matter where you are? Right. Because this gets a little more complicated. Right. But like once you understand that 50-50, it doesn't feel like 50-50 anymore. Because when you're unhappy, you know what to do about it.
Right.
So you're not necessarily unhappy, even though it's failure. You're like, well, that was a failure, but I'm not devastated by it. Right. I'm like,
it's fleeting. The negative. Yeah. The negative is fleeting because you know how to pull yourself out of the negative. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So
but I guess the point, I think a major point is that, and it ties in this happiness, and success, is that if you don't figure out how to be happy making $1,000 a month, you are not going to be happy when you make that $100,000 a month. Right. Yeah. And that's ultimately what we teach, right? Yeah, is that you have to learn how to be happy within your reality as it is right now. And we teach you how to experience that reality in a different way, right? Yeah. It's basically, we're not shifting your reality, we're shifting your experience of that reality. But when you shift your experience of that reality, all of a sudden, boom, the world opens up in a bigger way. And then you can start moving towards that $100,000 a month in a very different way, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I think about my home too, right? Like I could probably think of like $150,000 in renovations that I want to do right now. Like I want to reside the entire house. Like I want a deck to go further out in the back. I want like 1 million changes inside, right? But how do I be happy in it now? And like Jen shows me that. She's like, well, you just tidy this up and you shift this over there. It's like, no, I didn't make all those amazing renovations that I want to, but
your house is amazing,
right? Like
it's amazing
love
in here. I walk in here every time and I'm like, I don't see what you see. This is awesome. It's a beautiful house and it's cozy and it's warm and you see the color on the walls and your artwork and it feels, it's your home. It's Amanda's house, and
that's how it is like for a job, right? Like say you're going to go to your 9 to 5. Like if you go to your 9 to 5 and you're miserable all day, every day, and you can't wait to get the next promotion or go find a new job or whatever it is, like you're going to get to the new job or you're going to get to the promotion, you're going to feel exactly the same way. And so like for me, like if I moved into like my dream house, like it wouldn't actually make me any happier.
Right.
Because the happiness comes from the inside feeling about like knowing how to manipulate your space and like knowing how to set it up for who you are and who you want to be and who your family values and like That's the stuff that makes you happy. It doesn't matter what structure you're doing it in.
Well, the interesting thing is that if you're going to, from a feng shui point of view, you're going to carry all of your habits
into
from your
next
old house
home.
into your next home. In fact, you probably are purchasing a home that is very similar to your old home, subconsciously. So so cleaning up the mess before you leave, I think, is a really valuable lesson, right?
Yeah.
Be it that means your home or your job or a relationship, any of those things, like clean up the mess before you move on.
And we talk about how you do one thing is how you do everything. We talk about like how you leave one thing is how you step into the next new thing. And so it's just, that is the whole point. It's like, find the happiness where you are, and that's what we do. We help you find the happiness where you are, with who you are, in the environment you're in, because then you could take that anywhere.
Right.
Then you can take that,
and that's where real growth happens. That's when you collapse time, and all of a sudden, expansion happens in a massive way.
So if you can find that, you're like stepping into the flow, right? You're like, you're in the right place at the right time, and you're like, like maybe you didn't get the parking spot you wanted, but you're okay with it. And then you bump into like the person who's going to give you the new job or whatever. Like it just, when you're not fighting the yucky stuff, like you're just inviting more things that make you happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But we would love to hear your definitions of happiness, your definitions of success. Like for me, my definition of success is like this state of growth, and not the state of growth where it's like, I'm not good enough here, I need to keep going. It's more just like, what else is possible? What else is possible? What else is possible?
Right.
Not like, this isn't enough, I need more. It's more just like, what else how else can I expand? How else can I see this? Where else can I go? Where can I take it?
Interesting.
For me, success is like living in that place all the time.
Right.
It's just like, what's next? How can I keep growing?
Right.
So
ideally you could, if you classify things in that way, what we've been talking about, then you can be successful right this second.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is, I love that you brought up in a separate conversation the fact that our why words, right? If you're living in that why word, Amanda's why word is growth. My why word is connected, hence connected growth, or connection is my why word. And we were having a conversation with a client about her why word, which is inspiration. And if we are living in those, because those, let me back up a little bit, those why words fuel us, right? And you can probably explain this better.
I like the way you're explaining.
I love the way you explain feng shui too. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But the why word fuels us. And if we, if we, at the end of the day, if we were living in that integrity with our why word, we have had a successful day.
Right. We're in a state of happiness because we are living that connection to ourselves, connection to spirit, connection to our coworkers, connection to our children, all of it. Like, that's when the success just keeps coming. Right. And it doesn't matter what your definition of success is. Like,
but it perpetuates that forward motion.
Yeah. If you're living that why word, and that's like any research you do or investigation you do about the why is like, it is the fuel. My spin on it is that it's a word that you can find that fuel in one word, and it's going to be different for everyone. But it evokes, some people it's the same.
It evokes something within you that's quicker than like remembering like a paragraph, like a why that's a paragraph long about saving everyone and doing all the things,
inspiring children to make the world a better place.
This is
whatever.
like really about you and what fuels you. And for me, that connection, and when I really reach into that word, it comes from a place, for the podcast people, I'm like holding my hands over my heart. It comes from a place, a different place than in my mind. It comes from my heart, and that feels really different and fuels me to and motivates me in a very different way to get through situations with that integrity of that why word. Yeah.
And you know, for both of us, like if we are living, well, for everyone who's found their why word yet, like when you're living that, happiness and success are they're like just what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
perpetually.
Yeah. You don't have to work for it.
Right.
Like that's just the state of being.
Right. Exactly. Because I feel like we are, I mean, obviously we're happy people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that reads pretty clearly, but I feel like we are very successful, you know, even though we're constantly like, okay, where are we taking this?
Yeah, what's next? Where are we going?
Yeah, I feel like we've achieved a lot of success. And if we, look back on our lives, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
We don't give ourselves enough credit. Yeah. And I'm sure that you don't, all of our listeners, you don't give yourself enough credit as well. And I want to start this new, task is not the right word, because that doesn't sound very fun, but this new practice at the end of the day of, instead of doing a gratitude journal, of celebrating my wins, like actually going through the day, right, and listing out 3 to 5 things that I accomplished that day that were pretty freaking awesome. And even if that is like folding the clothes and putting them away, or
picking my kid up on time.
Exactly. Picking my kid up on time. I did that and I rocked it, just being proud of yourself. Proud, I guess, is the word, right? Starting to be proud of yourself for the things that you accomplished during the day, no matter how big, how small, but like, I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember when I was a new mom, right? Any moms who've had an infant know this, but like when you're a new mom, it's like, I brushed my teeth and took a shower today. Like,
miracles.
Yeah. Like, I'm freaking killing this thing. Like,
right? Exactly.
And so don't define your moments, your wins by anyone else's.
Yes.
Because they're going to change every single day, and they're most certainly going to change person to person. Right. But when you do that, you just it
amplifies,
and it brings you to that state of happiness, right? Like, we talk about the quickest way to feel happy, right? Celebrate a win.
Yeah, exactly. Just really like owning that and being proud of yourself for those things is huge. And like we say, when you focus your energy on your attention or energy, attenergy. Can we write that down? That's a good word. I like that. Attenergy. When you focus your attention or energy on something in particular, it reinforces that, and it brings the universe just kind of like can't help itself. It just multiplies. And so it brings you more things to be proud of yourself for. And that's the way gratitude works. That's the way happiness works, So, yeah.
And that changes the way you act, which is what changes the results and keeps it drawing more in.
Right.
Changes the way you act. It changes the way you think about things, the way that you look. What are you looking for?
Right. Exactly. So when people say, what is it that you ladies do, right? That's what we help you do. We help you change your experience of your life so that you can achieve the happiness and success that you are defining for yourself. And that's ultimately what life coaching is, right? Is helping you get from where you are to where you want to be.
And sometimes it's big changes, but most of the time it's literally just the everyday.
Yeah.
It's like,
but we live the everyday.
That is the magic.
Right.
Like, that's where it happens.
Having that magic and that happiness and that success in the everyday.
Yeah.
Not, when I achieve this massive thing that I think is going to bring me happiness, but living in a state of success and happiness.
It's like that book, The Slight Edge, right?
I didn't know that one.
Okay, so The Slight Edge is like, we're all on a trajectory, right? Mm-hmm. Some of us are just on a steady trajectory
downward,
where like in a way we don't want to go.
Okay,
and some of us are in a steady trajectory in a direction we do want to go. Mm-hmm. And you don't like it. It's like if your only focus every day was like, how do I find happiness? You're going to be on that slight edge like in a
Forward.
direction that is growth, that is expansion, that is success, using quotes for those not watching. But like, that's the slight edge comes from calculating that, like, how do I find happiness in the day? And that's where you build the success.
I love that.
And so it's just this, like, one day leads to the next, leads to the next. And like, people will say to us, like, how have you done it? Like, how did you get where you are? And it's like, well, we did it one day at a time.
Like, and it was like, on some days it feels like baby steps, and some days it feels like backward steps, you know, but it's showing up every single day and asking the questions and being available for the growth.
Right.
Yeah.
We're
Wow.
pretty happy people.
Yeah.
It's fun. It feels good. I have had lots of years in my life where I haven't lived this truth, where I've been like just longing and wanting and wishing and calculating and hoping and praying that something would change. And it's just literally been in the last couple of years where like, I'm really, truly happy most of the time.
Yep. Exactly.
Most of the time. Because
exactly.
I know how to manage I know how to manage my mind. I know how to manage my space.
Right.
I know how to be in a relationship in a healthy way with the world, with people, with myself. And I'm always growing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love one of our mentors. We were in a class with her last night, and she said the words clean loving. And, you know, I love that. Like, what we teach is how to be, how to live a cleaner life. So when you're showing up, you know, that it's pure and comes from a place of sincerity and genuineness. And I love that.
Like, feels really strong to me. Like when I bump into a problem, like something that feels like a challenge. And I used to come at it from such a reactive, emotional place.
Right. It was spiraling.
Yeah. And it's like just, it never got where I wanted it to go, or it never felt like there was resolution. And now to come at it from a really clean place. And how do you do that? Like, how do you make that shift in your mind so you're coming at something with like clean curiosity and open perspective versus like, this needs to change. We got to make this happen. Like, you got to stop doing that, or like whatever the thing is.
Well,
like,
it really is cleaning out the clutter, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? It's cleaning out the clutter in your mind. It's cleaning out the clutter in your body. It's cleaning out the clutter in your spirit. It's cleaning out the clutter in your space. And so that you're always clear, clean, and focused.
And when you talk about clean loving, when she talks about clean loving, like, unclean loving is conditional. It's attached. It has expectations.
Has those cords like, attached.
There's
it's guilt
like,
and
I will love you if you do it the way I want you to, or I love you now, but like yesterday really sucked.
Right. Yeah, and it just what she's talking about is just showing up in this like more pure state of, you know, unconditional love in every aspect of your life, right? Not even in relationships, but just, you know, showing up in this really like for your work, like, okay, let's do this, you know, and really focused and clear. And there's not like the emotional attachments to it. Yeah. Okay. Whoa, I had no idea we were going to end up here, but I'm so glad that we did. We always have fantastic conversations, and I'm glad that you guys get to witness them.
Yeah, good stuff. All right,
guys.
Send us your definitions of happiness. As always, thanks for listening. If you learned something today that can help the people in your circle, please help us get the word out by sharing. When you leave us a rating and review on iTunes, it not only warms our hearts, but it helps people find us. We are eternally grateful for your support, and we're looking forward to connecting with you next week. Until then, you can find the show notes at www.connectedgrowthcoaching.com. You can grab your journal and then get your shui on.